Diablo is one of the best examples of an action RPG and was a classic at the time. Though its gameplay is what brought many players to the table, the story behind it set the stage for the Diablo franchise and the rich history of angels and demons behind it. Now, before we hop into this, I have to let you know there are some retcons that were made after the game to make it into a coherent story for later games. We'll go over those at the end. Now, Diablo, Lord of Terror, was imprisoned in a soulstone buried underneath an area that would later be the town of Tristram, long ago by the order named the Horadrim. Diablo wasn't happy about this and spent his time slowly regaining his power, corrupting and overcoming his prison. But he still had no mortal form. This is where the Archbishop Lazarus comes in. He was as corrupt as they come and was sent from a far-off land to make sure that Diablo was resurrected once more. Lazarus became the advisor of King Leoric, encouraging him to build his estate and castle in the area of Tristram. Especially on top of an old monastery where ancient evils definitely weren't sleeping. Oh no, nothing of the sort. Property values are just low because, I don't know. I'm not a real estate agent. Anyway, Diablo went about attempting to seize the mind and body of King Leoric for his return, corrupting his dreams and influencing his thoughts. However, although he was successful in driving the king to madness, he could not hold sway over him and gave up. Leoric became paranoid and declared war on the other nations, and Lazarus used this paranoia to further his own schemes and have anyone who was suspicious of his dark motives killed. Lazarus kidnapped Leoric's son, Albrecht, and brought him deep into the catacombs where Diablo took possession of him. Fully breaking his spirit and bringing these greatest terrors to life, the catacombs were filled with waking nightmares, and the borders of sanctuary and the burning hells began to tear. Diablo had returned, and he would bring hell to this world. Diablo bided his time, as Leoric was doing quite a bit of the work for him. With his only advisor gone and his son disappeared, he turned to the townsfolk and started having them executed for treason. His own guards, returning from war, were forced to kill all of his protectors and their own king. With Leoric's death, he brought down a curse upon them all. Leoric would rise as the Skeleton King, and his killers were condemned to eternal damnation. The townspeople, now lacking a king and terrified, were relieved when Archbishop Lazarus finally reappeared. He rallied the townsfolk to search for the prince to restore order and led them into the depths of the catacombs. He led them right into the butcher's lair, and very few survived the encounter. Demons made their way out of the catacombs and into the countryside as Diablo's reign of terror begins. It is here where the heroes come in. The warrior, sorcerer, or rogue find themselves in the town of Tristram, where they fight through levels of the monastery against increasingly more powerful and evil demons until reaching Diablo, the Lord of Terror himself. In the process, they must defeat creatures such as the Butcher, the Skeleton King, and Archbishop Lazarus. When Diablo is finally defeated, his body shrinks and dissipates into the body of the young Prince Albrecht, now deceased. The hero picks up the soul stone that once held Diablo and jams it into their own head in an attempt to keep Diablo contained. The game ends on this grim sacrifice. Diablo is subject to a few things that fans have referred to as metcons, or retcons as done by Chris Metzen. Firstly, the canon person who jammed the soul stone into their head is the warrior, whose name is Aiden, and is revealed to be the other son of Leoric. Leoric originally only had one son, according to the Diablo manual, but hey man, he was crazy, maybe he forgot. The sorcerer and rogue later became enemies in Diablo 2 as they were both driven to madness for similar reasons. Lazarus was originally just a regular priest until he wandered into the catacombs and got corrupted by Diablo, but he was later retconned as being sent to Tristram by Mephisto. Also, the whole story about how humans were the product of angels and demons was added in Diablo 2. Diablo 1 only mentioned the ascension of the mortal realm with no explanation as to his origins. Beyond that, the other major thing that was expanded upon was the NPC Adria having a huge role in Diablo 3, but we'll talk about that in another video. As I said before, Diablo was a hugely influential PC game when it came out, and I'm glad it set the stage for this epic conflict of good, evil, and mankind for the past 15 years. Here's to another 15, Blizzard. And hopefully it doesn't take you that long to make another sequel. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons, and take care, everybody.